Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. We're a podcast about board games where we have opinions and conclusions formed on the basis of incomplete information. This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is brought to you by these great Saskatoon businesses: Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street, Dragon's Den Games on 8th Street, and Breakout Escape Rooms on Faithful Avenue. Hey there, how's it going, eh? This is What You've Been Playing Wednesday, and this is a special weekly episode that's a compilation of all the board games that all of us content creators have been playing. And on this episode are Friday Night Games of Dice and Men, the Tabletop Bellhop, Dice and Dragons, definitely a board game podcast, Mozart Games, the Meeple Dungeon, Board on the Air, and Cardboard Conjecture. And as always, please remember to check the show notes for the links to the What You've Been Playing Wednesday cast, and sit back and enjoy.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm John.
And we're
Time travelers.
Oh, what?
Boo.
Wow, it's been a while.
Yeah. We literally traveled
What You Been Playing Wednesdays?
to the future to record this because we've been gone for like 2 months.
I actually traveled to the past, so this is just a weird, awkward meeting of me and you, John.
Sorry. I could tell you all the things I knew.
Cool. So what do we talk about today?
Holy blank word. Can we swear on here?
I don't think we can, actually.
Okay.
I think,
Holy blank.
Wow, yeah.
Matt and I played this game.
No, hold on. We played the best game
of
2021.
If not the century.
For 2 players.
For 2 players.
Because it's a 2-player game.
Yes. And, oh man.
That's all we can say about it.
Like, my mind is blown how big this game is. But it doesn't seem that big when you open it out of the box. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's I didn't think it would be this amazing.
Right.
Like, when I first saw it, I'm like, this looks fun.
I thought the concept was cool. I'm very interested.
Hold on. What are we talking about?
Okay. So there's this game that's coming out in, like, they're hoping for December, but, you know, with all the shipping and stuff, who knows? But that's what they're aiming for. You can pre-order it now on the Panosaurus website. It's a game called That Time You Killed Me. And it is designed by Peter C. Hayward, artist by Joe Ross, published by Panosaurus Games. And in this game, you are the true inventor of time travel. And you are it's a 2-player game. One of you is the true inventor of time travel. The other is a murderer. And you're trying to kill each other to prove who the true inventor is.
Right. And we're not going to get into like too much spoilers because you just kind of have to play the game.
Exactly.
But I'll give you the simple rundown. There's a past, present, and future. Each of you start off with a piece in the past, present, and future. First player starts off in the past. Second player starts off in the future. And you have a bunch of moves. So you can travel between the next connected
era.
Right. So if you're in the past, you could travel to the present. If you're in the present, you could travel to the past or the future. If you travel back in time, you get to create a clone of yourself.
Yep.
Every turn, you have 2 moves. And I guess I'll just describe the very basic game, which involves trees. So you basically get an extra set of elements, and you can plant a tree in the past, and it grows into the present, into the future.
Yeah.
And that becomes obstacles that you can use to kill your opponent. So that's basically the general concept. And you win the game if your opponent has been eliminated from 2 eras, or you remove all his pieces from the board.
Right. And as you play the game and progress through the game, there's 4 other elements that you add to the game, and then eventually...
And more.
And eventually those all kind of combine together to create this giant game that even still seems to me that it continues to grow.
Right. And on that note, that's as far as we're going to go with content-wise of the game.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil anything.
We will spoil it on our podcast, but that's in a couple weeks.
Right.
So look for that. But John, what'd you like about it?
Okay, so I love anything time travel. Like time travel in media is awesome because everyone tries to explain it and what the effects of time travel will be, right? So, if you do something in the past, how does that affect the future, right? And that's what I liked about this game, because if you do something on the past board, it's going to do something on the future board. So, like you said, if you plant a seed in the past, you grow a shrub in the present and a tree in the future. And I think that's really cool.
And then each of those could be used to kill your opponent, basically. You can knock the tree over to kill an opponent, which is super cool. And then there's so much I want to talk about, but I'm not going to, because you just go. I'm only going to say this: if you like 2-player games and you like strategy games, just go buy this game.
Yeah,
you will not be disappointed.
It's called That Time You Killed Me, and just prepare to just be like amazed. Like, the artwork's great, everything's cool looking. It's just an amazing game.
Oh, let's talk about the instruction manual. Is hilarious.
Oh yes.
Oh man, it is so funny. I just can't. I really cannot say anything negative about this game. Like, the instruction manual is so well written and it's so funny, and it just sort of it has a lot of jokes as you read it, and it gets funnier and funnier too.
Yeah, and the instruction manual is written from the viewpoint of a person that knows everything that's gone on. So they know one of you is the inventor, one of you is the murderer, and they've seen everything. And think of it as like the Watcher on that new What If Marvel show, right? But they're interfering like crazy because they're telling you all the information. But anyway,
I don't
it's
watch
hilarious.
That show,
it's
so
hilarious.
If you don't catch John's reference, either do I. So don't worry about it.
Anyway, go out and grab That Time You Killed Me by Panasaurus Games.
Right. What do we play wrong? Nothing, because you slowly play the game and that it builds upon itself.
Yeah, and that was another great thing about this game is you literally open the box, give you basic rules, and then you add on this other element.
No, actually, you play a different element.
Yeah, you play a different element, and then those elements will combine. And then once you get those elements, you get more elements that you can combine.
We can't really say much about it. Just go buy it. Just go buy it.
You learn the game as you progress, and you get more and more things added to the game as you go on. And then once you reach the end, there's more in there to do, and it's awesome.
And we're not just saying this. We actually did play a ton of these games, and we actually went into all the different changes. So we're just telling you need to do it.
They recommend playing 3 games of each thing before you move on to the next one, and Matt and I did that. So
we did the combination.
We played this game probably like 30, 40 times.
Yeah, it's just do it.
Yeah, like it makes you play it all the time. Just go get it.
Oh, anyways. I'm Matt.
And I'm John.
And you're going to go by
That Time You Kill Me by Panasaurus Games. Check us out on Instagram.
You'll find us.
Yeah, just Friday Night Games _official. TikTok at Friday Night Games. Twitter at Friday Night GMS. And our website, FridayNight.Games. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, Chad here from Of Dice and Men, and I swear we're still an actual board game podcast. We are recording an episode this week and everything. We even did a thing with Friday Night Games. Honest, it's a whole thing. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about what I've been playing lately, and there's a simple answer to that question. Unsettled. Published by Orange Nebula and designed by Mark Needlinger and Tom Matson. Unsettled is a recently shipped, and in some cases still shipping, Kickstarter that funded back in late 2019 from the same company that produced Vindication. The game is presented as a sci-fi romp through various uncharted planets, and its presentation gave me a real No Man's Sky feeling, so it was a no-brainer for me to back it. Mechanically, Unsettled is a cooperative movement puzzle game where players are scientists stranded on various uncharted planets, each with its own quirks and missions to accomplish in order to escape with your lives. A player's turn is a standard action selection affair, although a bit twisted by the inclusion of focus dice, which represent the energy in one of 3 categories your player can exert in each task. Most tasks can be performed with a bonus if you use the appropriate color of focus die. Otherwise, you're left managing your remaining action points every round, trying not to exhaust yourself before the mission is complete. That's a basic overview, but there's a lot more that distinguishes this well-produced game. For starters, the base game box is more of a game system, providing you with components that are used across each planet you play. The base game box comes with 2 planets, one of which is a tutorial planet, for lack of a better term, and there's 4 more planets you can pick up, with more on the way in a future Kickstarter. The system provides the common threads you'll find across each game. Resources, specialties, player actions, traits, and group trust are all systems that are constant no matter where you find yourself exploring. What you find in each planet box, then, are planet-specific components that will only be used for the 3 missions that take place on its surface. Environment cards lay out the locations and make the map of the game. Unique discoveries, anomalies, research, and even planet-specific distress are all packed into each smaller box. So, while you'll be using a lot of the same rule set each time you play, the particular parameters of the mission are going to be unique each time you play. One game may take place on a mushroom-infested world attempting to create an antifungal aerosol to thwart the invasive spores from taking over your body, while the next may involve communing with crystallized consciousness of an ascended alien civilization. Almost all of the missions are constrained by a game timer in the form of, well, time. Every 6 turns or so, each player will lose one of their 5 endurance, which does a good job of keeping the game tense, and the playtime around an hour and a bit. Whether you're playing solo or with a full table of 4, the game will likely be done before the 30th player turn. Luckily, Untitled does a great job of keeping every player engaged. In a rather novel mechanic, players are encouraged to use any of their learned or unique abilities at any point on any player's turn. If you've researched robotics and have learned to control Luna, which is the crew's friendly robot, to move resources, you can do that on anyone's turn, not just your own. This does a great job of incentivizing everyone to work together across the entire game, not just on their turn, making it a very collaborative experience. Another unique aspect of Untitled is the player traits. Each player has their own player board with 6 constant actions on it: research, investigate, move, support, recover, and rest. In addition to this, however, is a random trait tile that you receive at the beginning of the game, which augments one of those 6 actions in a unique way for your character. But not everything is good. The trait tiles are double-sided, and when group trust, which is another mechanic in the game, is waning, your positive trait may become a negative hindrance, or better yet, a passive positive trait may kick into overdrive and provide a much-needed boost in a dire situation. Add to this Orange Nebula's hilarious writing, which in my opinion works much better here than it did in Vindication, and amazing artwork and presentation, and you've got yourself a fun little space adventure game that has little competition, something along the lines of a sci-fi Robinson Crusoe or Destinies. It also comes with a well-designed game trays storage system, which allows you to quickly pop the game out of the box, all set up and ready to go without having to separate components or shuffle around decks of cards. Where the game falls apart a bit, if I had to pick a spot, is the awkward space it creates between having a common game system while also trying to support unique planets. I find this combination creates a need for the game to be more abstract than a more focused experience would be. I often found myself not caring about the specifics of a map location or a particular discovery, rather just focusing on the iconography that did or didn't show up. You almost lose the trees for the forest in such a system. Because you see the exact same icons and layout across each planet, it doesn't really matter that you're jumping into a dense forest or a crystallized cavern. It matters how many research diamonds or hourglass symbols you walked across. I haven't had a chance to play all 6 planets that the full Kickstarter has come with, but each one I have played has presented a new and interesting challenge to work against in a unique context. Almost like playing a chapter out of the Unlock or Exit series. Common ideas allow you to get up to speed in playing quickly, but new content keeps the experience exciting. As I previously mentioned, Orange Nebula is gearing up for another Kickstarter with more planets in the not-too-distant future, so keep an eye out for that if you'd like to get your own copy. Well, I'm going to go check out those remaining planets, but in the meantime, I hope you catch us as we go back into our podcasting stride in the near future, hoping to record a Halloween episode later this week. Look for Of Dice and Men wherever podcasts are sold, and check out our great back catalog in the meantime. Have a great week.
Hello and welcome to the Tabletop Bellhop segment of Whatcha Been Playing Wednesday. I am Moe T, the Tabletop Bellhop, your cardboard concierge, answering your gaming and game night questions and striving to make everyone's gaming experience better. If you've got a gaming or game night question for me to answer, you can email me, questions@tabletopbellhop.com, or head over to our webpage at tabletopbellhop.com and click on Ask the Bellhop at the top of the page. You can also find me all over social media as Tabletop Bellhop, one word, and I'm not going to say no to a question asked anywhere. Now, the question I'm answering today is, what you been playing this past week? Well, you may have missed my voice on this podcast last few weeks, and that's due to the fact I've been recovering from a difficult, slow-healing wound. Now, the worst of that is almost over, though it still hasn't quite closed up. But it's closed up enough that we were able to have our first game night in many weeks this past Friday. At that, we managed to play 3 games, some multiple times, the first of which was Space Base with Shea Pluto. Don't worry, no real spoilers for Shea Pluto here if you haven't had a chance to play it yourself. Well, I reviewed Space Base earlier this year, and we finished the Emergence of Shea Pluto expansion quite a while ago now. I've been holding off on reviewing Shea Pluto because I've wanted to play a few more games of Space Base now that we've unlocked and added all the changes Shea Pluto adds to the game. Now, the big change is a new asteroid mining system, and I really haven't decided what I think about it. Honestly, there's a good chance not knowing what I think is going to be what I think. The other people I've been playing with also have mixed thoughts on this, and I think what we would all love is to have an option to remove that new feature of the game, but keep the other stuff Shea Pluto adds, which is something I do think I will try at some point, but not something recommended or suggested by the rules. Now, the other thing we did enjoy that we tried for the first time on Friday was the accelerated start system in Shea Pluto. This is something from the base game we just never got around to trying that we all really liked. With this variant, you start the game with 15 coins at the start of the game, or gold, whatever the credits, whatever the money is in that game. And you get a selection of level 1 and 2 cards that you can purchase with those coins. Now, any coins not spent are saved for the start of the game. Now, start player is determined by the player who saved the most coins, with ties broken by whoever bought the highest sectored cards. We all really enjoyed this variant. It made the game feel much more asymmetric right from the start, and it let people build some form of engine or system, or at least start to build something like that, or start building a strategy towards one right from the start of the game, which we really appreciated. I honestly strongly recommend this variant, and at this point I may be using that for every game going forward. Now, another thing I also recommend about Space Base, and this goes for whether you're playing the expansion or not, is taking out that one card that removes victory points from the other players. Now, this is not because it's overpowered, as some people seem to have indicated. We've actually found it to be quite contrary to that, since we've never played a game where a player who used that card actually won. The problem isn't that it's too powerful. The problem is that it draws out the game and makes it longer, potentially way longer than you actually want to play. Now, our second game on Friday, when this card came up, was the game that used the accelerated start. So here we are using the quick start, speed up the game rules, and while that game took an hour and a half longer than our first game, because no one could gain any points, there were players that had point victory cards or point shuttles and everything else and should be developing points, but that one player just kept taking them away. Meanwhile, they weren't on any good path to victory themselves. It just drew out the game to a point where it almost wasn't fun anymore. Now, as far as Space Base goes and our coverage of it, it would be awesome if you joined Sean and I tonight on Twitch at 9 p.m. We're going to do up a full review of the Emergence of Shea Pluto expansion on tonight's show. Now, the next game we got to the table was my review copy of Roll Camera, and I've got to thank Mark from Grand Gamers Guild for getting us a copy of that. Now, this was my second play of this movie-making cooperative dice placement game, and it went over great. And if you didn't hear me talk about this before, so did our first play. So far, this game's been a success, both games. I am really digging the themes, the mechanics, and the tension in Roll Camera. This one really does seem to be a hit with everyone we played it with. This time we were playing with new players. There were 4 of us total, and we actually bumped it up to normal difficulty and managed to win, but it was close. In the end, our movie was worth watching, which was enough to win the game, but we could have done much better. There were ranks above that, so we did not. Whereas when we played normal, we actually maxed out and got like the blockbuster hit level. This time our movie was worth watching and could have been better. I gotta say, roll camera has been really impressive so far, but it's going to take me a few more plays before I'm ready for a full review, which I'm hoping to get in this week. So we may be reviewing this one next Wednesday. We'll see. Now, the final game we played this past week was Gloomy Graves. This is one of those not as light as it appears filler games with a perfect theme for a Halloween season. In this game, you're playing gravediggers in a fantasy realm where there's constant battles, and the players are in charge of burying all those dead dragons, pixies, unicorns, and more. Now, you do this by adding 2 section domino-like cards to both your personal graveyard and a growing public graveyard, each of which has its own special placement rules that I'm not going to get into here. In general, though, you're placing these cards so they partially stack on top of existing cards, which is a neat mechanic, and you're trying to do that to make joined sets of different types of grave types. Now, after playing a card to each graveyard, you choose one type of body to score. Now, the trick here is that you can only score each of the 5 types once in the entire game, and each is worth more points the more cards that are in the set. So it's a bit of a, how far do you push it to try to get more points, or do you try to grab those before the other players do? Gloomy Graves is one of those quick to learn but difficult to master games that has more going on than it looks like at first. It's highly interactive and competitive, and the theme is more spooky than gross, which I actually appreciate. Now, we were showing off this game to our friends Tori and Kat. Now, they are huge spooky season fans. They started decorating before October, at the end of September, really into the Halloween season. And while they loved it so much, we actually let them keep the game at the end of the night. I figure they're the people we're probably going to play it with the most often, and this way they can enjoy it on their own and with their own family and friends. I almost forgot. There is one other gaming thing I did this past week. I came up with, designed, and wrote a new role-playing game. I did this in 24 hours, and that's because I was submitting it to the RPG Geek 24-hour RPG contest, which is currently running right now on the site and ends, I think, in early November. So as a special bonus after writing this, I sent a copy of this game, like a pre-release, I guess, to all of our Tabletop Bellhop Patreon backers. And I timed this, so I did it on Saturday, which I hope you know was Free RPG Day. So for Free RPG Day, I sent out a copy of my new RPG. So if you want a sneak peek at this, all you got to do is become one of our patrons at any backer level. I sent this out to every single one of our patrons from $1 up to $10 or higher backer levels. Now, being a patron's awesome, right? Because for one, it supports us, lets us keep creating great content, but it also gets you other cool stuff like behind the scenes blog posts, copies of our pre-production show notes, access to a private Discord channel, bonus audio, and even a chance to game with us, as well as other bonuses like a free game every now and then. Now, as for that RPG, I am sure I will be back here on Whatcha Been Playing Wednesday talking about the game once voting goes live. I personally think it turned out really well. I haven't seen the other entries, but even without that, I think I got a pretty good chance. I think it's a neat game with a neat theme, and I think I did a good job tying the mechanics to the theme. I think it turned out really good, though I gotta admit I didn't have a lot of time to work on it, so I'm sure there are some rough edges. As for actually playing that game, we're not allowed to play test until the contest is over, so I haven't actually tried it to see if it works at the table, but I think it sounds good in theory. So I'd say for me, for this past week, wrote a role-playing game, played a bunch of 3 different games, multiple plays of some of the games. Looking forward to getting some reviews out on those games in the coming weeks. Remember, you can find lots more great gaming content at tabletopbellhop.com and on our podcast, which drops Tuesday mornings at 2 a.m. You can also join all 3 of the Bellhop members, Sean, Deanna, and I, for Sunday Brunch. This is an unscripted show that goes live at 1 p.m. that we're now releasing on YouTube instead of Twitch. We're trying out YouTube with a potential maybe switching over there for all our content. But for now, just the brunch is going to be on YouTube with our regular live show recording Wednesday nights on Twitch at twitch.tv/tabletopbellhop. For the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, I am Moe T, the Tabletop Bellhop. Good night and game on.
What up, gamers? I'm Jayson.
I'm Julie, and together we're Dice and Dragons. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram at Dice and Dragons, and Twitter at Dice and Dragon.
And what is it today, Julie?
It's What You've Been Playing Wednesdays.
And what have we been playing?
we have been playing Rolling Realms.
So this is published by Stonemaier Games, designed by Jamie Stegmaier. It is for 1 to 6 players, ages 14 and above, and plays in 30 minutes. I think you can probably go younger than 14. It does depend on how good your kids are at math.
It's not just math. I mean, it's figuring things out a little bit.
Math and problem solving.
I would say more problem solving than math. We've had this conversation.
Yeah, so what are you doing in Rolling Realms? Well, this game is based on all of the Stonemaier properties. Well, not exactly. There are different realms in the game, and each of those realms are based on a different Stonemaier game. You're going to be rolling dice. You're going to be writing down the values of those dice on your player card, on your scorecard. Then you're going to be using those values to trigger effects in the different realms, trying to gain resources, as well as gaining the most amount of stars possible on each realm in order to get the high score and be the winner of the game. So this is a roll and write, and it is in fact our first ever roll and write game that we have played together.
Yeah, because we had to clarify that when we were talking about this, when we did our review, you highlighted to me that Yahtzee is basically a roll and write. So I've played a lot of Yahtzee in my life.
I think everyone's played a lot of Yahtzee.
I know some people who haven't, actually.
Who?
I met some people who hadn't. In any case, I thought this was pretty... I mean, first of all, I like the components are always good in Stonemaier games. And I would say that that's the same thing with, in this case, the dice are really nice, and the material used for this is good quality. I don't love the art. I find it a little drab, personally, but...
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that the game came together so quickly, because this started development early on in 2020 in March, when we were just getting into the pandemic, I think, or maybe it was April, and they turned this around and got out a full production copy because this was demanded and requested by the Stonemaier community. This was something that Jamie designed just for fun, that could be played easily over video chat, and lots of people were playing it and helping him test it over video chat and getting lots of feedback from the community. And I think it's just really cool, the story of this game and how it came to be.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun playing with it. I won every game, Jayson.
Well, I'm not that big on roll and writes. I've also played Welcome 2, and this might be sacrilege to some people. I didn't like Welcome 2. I don't really like this type of game. Yahtzee's fun, but it's okay. And you did a great job with this game, and there's a lot that I like about the game. I love the fact that all the realms are different, that they're all based on different Stonemaier properties, and that those interactions that you have on the realm are also based on Stonemaier properties. So everything is just really cool and well put together. I'm just okay with this. Like, it's not something that I particularly want to play again.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said that. I like the fact that it plays really quickly, and that it's not a brain burner. There was a little bit of strategy to it, but it's not like the luck of the draw can be against you particularly, because whatever you roll affects all players. Sorry to interrupt, I just want to say that did happen to us, because you rolled, and we both looked at the roll, and it was like the end, and we're like, well, that sucks, but neither of us can do what we wanted. Yeah. But the same way, basically at first I'm like, well, how are we going to end up not doing the same thing in every case? And I mean, when we started off a few games playing similar things, similar ideas, but then, moved on and had completely different strategies in the end. So it is interesting. It would be fun to see how this plays at a higher player count. I think that this is a fun game to play at a games night when you're waiting for people to arrive.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to play any different at a higher player count, because it's not going to change what you can do and what you can do with those resources that are generated, but it's probably going to push you to be more creative, because you're going to see what a lot of other people are doing as well, and you'll see different strategies that you may never have thought of for certain realms.
I think that, like I said, a good starter game night game, or, in between when one game's finishing and you're waiting for somebody else to finish their game. This is, I think, another grid quick game. So, I mean, it's not my favorite game, but I enjoyed it. I thought it's a good family, it's a good introductory game. It's not complicated. I think it's something that's very accessible to a lot of people. Is it, does it challenge you? No. Does it work the way your brain likes to work? Absolutely not. But I enjoyed it. I appreciate it for what it is. I think it does what it sets out to do very well.
No, and I have to agree with you on that, and that's why if you do watch our review, you'll notice that I'm going to give my personal score because I'm not a big fan of roll and writes, but I also gave it a score based on what the game actually accomplishes and the production value and all the great stuff pulled off by Stonemaier in this game in such a quick amount of time. And if you're a roll and write fan, I definitely think this one should be in your collection.
So on that note, Jayson, what are we doing?
We're going to remind everyone to keep playing games.
Hello, I am A. Ron Milich.
And I'm Royce Calverley.
And we are definitely a board game podcast, a podcast definitely about board games, except when they're not. And we're here once again on What You Been Playing Wednesday. Royce, what you been playing on Wednesday?
Games.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Good start.
Okay. Yes. I have been playing. What was I going to talk about? Oh, I remember now. I've been playing Aquaguard.
Aquaguard. What is that?
Aquaguard. So this is a game by Tatsuka Chuo. It's from the company Uchibakoya.
Wow.
I'm out of it, guys. Sorry, man. Uchibakoya, publishing company, a company that traditionally has done gaming components, but has now moved into producing their own games. This is a competitive game where everybody is attempting to make their own aquarium.
Wow. Neat.
So we're all trying to start our own aquarium. And I don't mean little in-the-house aquarium. I mean like Ripley's aquarium. I mean the San Francisco Bay Aquarium, these giant shed aquariums. Right? So you're collecting different sea creatures, from clownfish to turtles to seahorses to sharks to whales, everything else. And you're putting them in your tanks. Each tank has a limited amount of oxygen, so you've got to be careful to balance the oxygen with the animals. Some animals can't live with other animals. Sharks tend to eat stuff, so you don't want to put them with stuff they'll eat. Really, really interesting game. Fairly quick. Takes maybe 15, 20 minutes to play. But the first time we played it, Grace turned to me, and the very first thing she said was, that has way more decisions than I expected. And that's exactly right. It's a fast filler game with a lot of really interesting decisions to make, collecting these animals, putting them in the right tanks, getting the end game scoring. And the production is just amazing. All these little animals, each one is a separate wooden meeple, carved properly, screen printed, beautiful, colorful, just amazing production. Really excited about this one, Aquaguard.
So heavy filler game.
Yeah. Well, not heavy, just not light. It's not just a brainless filler.
Right.
It's a filler with thought. Yeah.
And I think you told me this one came out this year, right? 2021?
Yeah, 2021, brand new. It was a Kickstarter that just fulfilled. Super happy about it.
Nice. Well, I've been playing an older game. I usually do.
Yep.
Real quick, got this one at a store here in Toronto called Sweet Thrills. They will often put older games or games they want to get rid of on the floor. Once they're on the floor, they're on sale. So I got this one for like $13 or something. It wasn't very much, but it's called Rondo. I picked it up because it's Reiner Knizia. We know that he makes a lot of great games.
Sure.
This is from Schmidt-Spiel, 2012. It's a abstract strategy game with a huge board. It's called Rondo for a reason. Everything in this game is round. The board is round. The pieces are round. And basically, it's just a bunch of colored numbers around this long round track that match colored plastic pieces. And you're trying to place the same color pieces on the numbers that correspond to the same color. You can have up to 5 in your rack. Basically, your turn is very simple. Play as many tokens as you want on the board and then draw 1 token from the bag, or pass and draw 2 tokens from the bag. And that's it.
So if there's like a red 2, you put your red disc on the 2, you get 2 points. And then if right next to it there's a purple 3, you put the purple disc on the 3, you get 3 more points. You can keep playing as many discs you want, and if there's a color you can't do, you can flip over your disc to the plain side and make a little bridge to get to that next number you need. And you're always trying to score as many points as you can. Going to say, I can see this game being great with 4 players. There would be strategy involved. There would be people taking the spots you wanted. And I'm sure it would be a very close race. With 2 people, the board's a little bit too big. There was almost never a struggle for the same space. And it was literally just laying down tiles and scoring points. So going to try it with 4. But as a 2-player game, unfortunately, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone unless they really, really like light games. Yeah. So that's what we've been playing on Wednesday. If you like what you hear, you can always jump over to our podcast, Definitely a Board Game Podcast. Check us out there. We're everywhere the podcasts live. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those really neat places. And then, of course, you can always talk to us, definitelyboard@gmail.com, @BoardDefinitely on Twitter, @DefinitelyBoard on Facebook. And we also have a guild at the Definitely Board Game Podcast Guild on Board Game Geek. You can find us there.
Yep.
Is there anything else?
Don't know why you want to, but you can.
Yeah. Anything else, Royce?
Not a thing.
Say goodbye, Royce.
Goodbye, Royce.
Bye, everyone.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Morris from Mozart Games, and I am back with Cardboard Conjecture to talk about what you've been playing Wednesday. You can find me on Twitter as SpiderMo, that's Spider with a Y, if you like what you hear, and want to give me a follow for some board game thoughts, as well as my ongoing challenges as a designer. This week, I want to discuss the game Everdell from Starling Games. Now, I know that I'm a little late to the party on this one, but I finally got in my first play of this game, and I wanted to share my thoughts a little about it. I think I stayed away from this game because I saw a group playing it a couple of years ago with an expansion or 2 mixed in, and the setup and the rules teach of the game took longer than the game that I was playing at the time. So although the theme and the style appealed to me, I figured that I'd pass on playing it as it seemed far too complicated for what I was looking for. How wrong I was in that assumption, at least in terms of the base game. Now, for anybody who, like me, has been living under a rock for the last 3 years, Everdell is a worker placement tableau building game where you all play as forest animals trying to build the city of Everdell before the next winter sets in. Now, it utilizes a neat mechanism where you gain more and more workers as the game progresses, starting players off slowly before ramping things up in the late stages of the game. In fact, early on in your first game, you might wonder how you can possibly come close to building the maximum of 15 cards in your tableau before the game ends. Well, as you approach the end of summer, you'll be trying to figure out how you can get rid of a couple of the things that you built early on in order to make room for what you have planned. Now, cards that are played into your tableau will represent either constructions or critters, the buildings of Everdell and the animals who inhabit them. Each card has a cost, with constructions requiring tigs, resin, and or pebbles, and critters requiring berries. However, each critter has an associated construction that if you have built it previously, you can then add the critter for free. This is just one of the many combos that can be played within the game, and it helps to reduce the need to collect some resources within the game, thus maximizing your actions. Now, on your turn, you can take one of 3 different actions, the first of which is deploying a worker to one of the many spots on the board to collect resources. There are some that are used in every game, and then there are forest locations that are randomly set up each game. Most spots can hold a single worker, but there are several spots on the board that multiple players can use each season, meaning that you're never going to be totally locked out of spaces that you might want to go to. You can also send your workers to events that are on the board that provide endgame victory points if you meet their criteria, and once you have played a few constructions to your tableau, you might have some destinations that workers can also be assigned to. Now, the second action is to play a card, which is where the engine building of the game comes into play. You can play a card either from your hand or from any one of the 8 cards that are placed in the meadow on the main board as long as you have the resources to pay for the cards. You add the newly acquired construction or critter to your tableau, and if it has an immediate effect, you'll trigger its ability, allowing you to gather additional resources or cards. Now, it's generally recommended that you play a construction before playing its matching critter to avoid paying its berry cost, but sometimes you might not see the combos that you're looking for, or you may really need to activate that critter's ability, so you play it anyway. You are limited to only having 15 cards in your tableau, so you will need to plan carefully what you place, as there are very few ways to get rid of unwanted cards once they have been placed. Now, the third and final action that you can take is called Prepare for Season, which is where you reclaim all of your previously placed workers and gain some additional resources based on what season you're moving into. Each season will also unlock 1 or 2 new workers that you add to your supply, allowing you more actions in subsequent rounds. Now, the unique thing here is that players don't have to wait for others to finish up their current season when they prepare. Players can all be in different seasons at different times, sort of like in Tapestry when players advance to a new era. For an example, in our game, we had one player who was still finishing up spring as another player was entering autumn, simply because they were building several cheaper cards and had many more actions that were available to them during their plays. Once every person has completed 4 rounds or seasons, each player will add up the victory points that they've earned throughout the game from their tableau, any events that they achieved, and any additional victory points earned from certain abilities in the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So what are my thoughts on the game? Well, I liked my first experience of Everdell. Everything worked in the game on our initial playthrough. We did find it very hard to determine who was doing well in the game, as we thought that 2 players were running away with it, although it turned out only one of them was running away, while the other 3 of us finished within 2 points of one another. There's definitely a fair amount of luck involved in the game, as the winning player happened to get fortunate with cards that appeared in the meadow exactly when he needed them, and I could never find a wife for my husband, even though it was the second card I played into my tableau in the first season of the game. There is enough variability in the game, with a random assortment of forest action spaces laid out in every game, and also 4 different special event cards, so you never know exactly what resources are going to be plentiful. So I don't think I'll grow bored with the options within the game. The artwork is phenomenal, and super cute animals everywhere, and clear, concise symbology used on all of the cards. The components were also top-notch, with unique animal meeples for each player. Although we kept thinking the mice were hares, but it didn't really matter in terms of gameplay. Also, the resources are incredibly well done, with each having a unique feel to them. The publisher could have just used cardboard tokens for the resources, but they really went the extra mile and made them over the top with these. Now, there's a ton of expansions for the game that add additional boards, resources, and effects to the game. Now, I don't feel like I need to add an expansion at this point, but if it hits the table a lot, I may pick something up to add more depth to the game down the road. But it's not a game that I feel needs an expansion added to it immediately. My only real gripe with the game is the Evertree, a huge 3D cardboard tree that houses the special event cards and extra meeples for each player, as well as tracks the bonuses that are gained when players prepare for the next season. It's large and it blocks the view of the board to some players, but it's not really needed to enjoy the game. It's just a shame that, as cool of a feature it is, I think it's going to be left in the bottom of the box more times than not when I play the game. I am very happy that I finally got around to playing Everdell, and I look forward to exploring it at different player counts, as well as trying out the solo mode as I have a chance to try it. So once again, I'm Chris Morris. Thank you for listening to my thoughts about Everdell, and if you liked what you heard and want to hear or see more from me, I can be found on Twitter as SpiderMo. Thanks for listening, and may all your dice rolls be critical successes.
Hello everybody, it's Rob and Anna Marie from the Meeple Dungeon.
Hello.
And we're back again recording for the Whatcha Been Playing Wednesdays podcast, and this week we have one game to talk about. What is that, Anna Marie?
That game is Galaxy Trucker, designed by Vlada Shvatel and published by Czech Games Edition.
Yes, Galaxy Trucker, the famous Galaxy Trucker game. This is new to me, but Anna Marie has been playing this over the last few years with her kind of work gaming group of people. And they played it a lot, but not so much. Only a little bit for me. So Anne-Marie's really going to drive the conversation.
Kind of funny.
On this one.
We had my one friend, her sister came to visit from Alberta, and she brought the game with her. And so then my friend brought it to play at our game night, and I forgot it there, and then her sister went back, so we had it for like a year. So we got to play it, and then I got the game. My friends got it for me.
And you actually got it for your birthday, which was the weekend before
the pandemic
world fell apart.
Shut down everything. Yeah. So it was like it had been in plastic, and
it's been sitting there forever until just now. So,
but yeah. So Galaxy Trucker. High stress, high fun.
Hilarity.
Right? Like, it's one of those games where you go in, or I do anyways, not really expecting much. No. So the game plays over 4 rounds, and it's kind of neat because each round you have a different board. And each board,
that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
You go from a small ship to a bigger ship to a really big ship
and
up to
the large
which
ship.
is the replica of the USS Enterprise, which is pretty cool. I like that.
So you have a whole bunch of these like shipbuilding tokens. So they're black, like with stars on the one side, like just space, and then they've got ship components on the other side.
Yep.
And so
connectors.
They've got connectors.
Lasers,
they've got engines. And you've got spots where your crew can go.
Yeah.
You've got little spots or
cargo spots.
Yeah. They have little colored spots for an alien if they're connected to the little where the crew can go. Then you can have an alien as part of your crew.
Yeah.
And
how? So tell them how the game kind of works here. You start the game with your player board in front of you, just an empty canvas.
Yeah.
And then there's that pile of stuff in the middle of the table, and you just got to reach with one arm.
Yep, one arm only. Tile, you can look at it. Try to make sure it's illegal. You join it legally on your board with the proper connectors.
Yep.
If it doesn't fit, you can put it back face up this time so that other people can see it and swipe it if they want.
Yeah, and you're only allowed to use one hand.
One hand.
So you have to have one hand behind your back this whole time, so you can't have 2 tiles
going at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a timer in this one, a sand timer. Yep. So you're kind of working against the clock, and you're just trying to build the best ship. When somebody feels like they've got their ship pretty much where they want it, they flip the timer and give everybody else. They say, okay, flipping the timer, and you've got like another 30 seconds or a minute to finish building your ship. So then everybody, it just ramps up. Everyone's like, just trying to pick things up, but you're working hard to try to have the right connectors. But then if you're going too fast, you're gonna mess up anyways. Mm-hmm. And I'll get to that. But when if you don't have something that connects properly, once everybody's ships are built or the timer runs out, then you walk around making sure there are no illegal.
Which there's gonna be. Somebody's gonna screw something up. Yeah. And you're gonna have to end up pulling tiles off your board.
Yeah. It could be as simple as, that one's illegal and it's on the edge. So then you take off just one tile. But if that one piece that was illegal was the only thing connecting a bunch of other tiles, you lose that whole section of your ship. Yep. So the ship's important.
It's very important to do it properly, because if you mess up one thing, you could potentially lose like a whole section of your ship.
Exactly.
If it's the one connection, you pull that connection, everything that's now not connected to your ship is gone.
Yes.
Yeah. So after you've built your ship, the timer's run out, and all these things have happened. You are going to
you figure out who has the prettiest looking ship, so who's basically got the most pieces.
Yeah.
And they get to go first on the track, and then it goes to the worst. Mm-hmm. And whoever finished first, like things like that. And then you've got just cards basically in each phase. You're going to start.
It's called like the adventure deck or something.
Yeah.
The convoy deck.
Convoy deck, I think.
You're going to flip over a card, and it's going to tell you what you've encountered, if you've encountered aliens or asteroids.
Well, the asteroids. That's something I'll just touch on that, because that's a pretty fun part.
Yeah.
You get it with an asteroid. You've got on each ship that you have, there's a grid. So you've got, I think, numbers across the top and across the side. And so if the card shows you're getting hit from the top, you have to, the person who's in front just like rolls the die, and whatever number the die is, that's where the meteor is going to come from. And then you just basically check to see if you've got enough in place to keep your ship sturdy, or if your ship's going to get busted apart again.
Yeah, because there's other things. There's batteries that can power up lasers and thrusters and things. And the asteroid comes flying in and knocks a piece of your ship off, and then that might have been a crucial part that knocks off another 3 or 4 tiles off your ship. And you're just getting pelted from all these different directions, and you're just trying to get through that deck.
Through the deck, it can give you cargo, which gives you points and money, and then you're collecting money, and whoever has the most money at the end of the game essentially wins. But you're, or I guess anybody who has money is a winner, but whoever has the most is the best winner, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, you're gonna do that 4 times with a bigger and bigger and bigger ship, and it's just repeating and repeating. And the cards you have level 1, level 2, level 3 cards. So it's going to get harder as you go. You got pirates that are going to come on. You've got like all sorts of things that are going to happen. If you don't have enough thrusters, you're not going to be able to get away from these guys. And then you get pillaged. If you don't have enough blasters built on your ship to pass the test, your ship's going to get wrecked. Like, it's just chaos.
Yeah.
This game is pure chaos.
It is. It's hilarious chaos. And you just see your ship and everyone else's ships get blown to bits.
And it's, you think sometimes you're like, man, I actually did it. I built the perfect ship. And then when people are checking, they take it out. You're like, no.
Yeah. One thing wrong.
When you're building all the pieces that are wrong, they go against you. And oh my goodness, it's fun chaos.
It is. It's a hilarious, fun chaos of a game, and we recommend you go out and play it.
Take a look at it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a cool game. So we got to run, but you should, after you listen to this episode, you should check out our podcast. We just dropped our 10th episode where we talk and review Unfathomable from Fantasy Flight Games.
Yeah.
So head on over to the Meeple Dungeon podcast on all your podcasting spots, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
I'm David.
And I'm Shea.
And you're listening to What Have You Been Playing Wednesday,
Whatcha?
Weekly podcast of Canadian content creators who get put together and sent out by Bridge City Boardgamers.
Yes. And it's what you've been playing.
Yeah.
I misspoke last week.
Yeah, what have you been playing?
What you've been playing.
Yes, exactly. Tonight we're talking about The Red Cathedral by Devere Games, designed by Sheila Santos and Israel Sendero.
Probably how you pronounce those names.
I'm close, I think.
Yeah, better than we did in the last game.
Yes. This is your prototypical small or big game in a small box.
Very big game in a very small box.
Yeah, this one was a blast. I had heard a lot about this game and finally was able to pick it up and finally got it to the table. Really solid mechanics. On your turn, you're going to do one of 3 items. You're going to claim a building area on the Red Cathedral. You're going to get resources, or you're going to...
You get resources, you put... You said
or build.
Oh, build, yeah.
Yeah, you can deliver 3 items to your building, and that may complete an area or not.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of free actions. You can trade your points for money or goods, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you can trade the goods that you got to get money or to get different goods, right?
Yeah, the basic action of just taking an area on the cathedral is you take an area on the cathedral. And there's different cards that give you different designs on how that's put together. And when it all gets flipped over, it looks like an actual cathedral. It's kind of cool.
It honestly was super fun to see it kind of get built.
Yeah.
Because, it's all colorful and stuff. It was quite a neat idea, honestly.
Yeah.
And I like putting the doors and stuff on. I just kind of wish, with the doors and the
decorations.
Windows and the decorations, you can pay gems to get more points.
Yes.
I kind of wish you could, put the gems on, right? Like, that they would stay there, or you had a decorated side. I think that would have been really fun.
Yeah. All the resources in the game are limited, so you can't do that.
Yeah, but, you could flip it, right? You could have a colorful side
I
and a
understand.
non-colorful side.
When you claim an area, or a building spot, they have little tokens that give you something. You can put those on your main board, and then when you use that color dice when you're getting resources, you get a bonus.
Yeah.
I just realized we played that wrong because we were supposed to get that bonus when we took that as well. which we didn't. When you're taking resources, or actually they'll do the build next. When you build, you can deliver 3 goods, and you can deliver it to 3 different areas, all to the same area.
And that's not the one you can pay for, right?
No, that was part of the resources where you can use your influence.
I might have been playing that wrong.
Yeah, quite probably you
I mean, I can't remember how many of my buildings might have used 4 resources, but there's a chance when I built, I thought you just paid the resources and then built it instead of paying 3.
Yeah, you could only do 3.
Yeah, I was not aware of that.
Okay, how we played it wrong. The most complicated one is the taking resources. It's in a rondelle in the middle, and you move your dice that many places, and whatever you land on, you're going to get that many resources times the pips on the die.
Oh, right. I forgot about the math in this. Sorry, I was thinking about the final scoring.
And once you do that, you're able to also use, there's cards in each quarter that allow you to do something that breaks the game a little bit, right?
Yeah, like put more resources out or like trade
sell
goods.
stuff.
Yeah.
There's 3 cards, I think, of each corner, and so there's some variability to how the game is played.
Yeah.
All in all, I thought the strategy was great.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I tried to get something, I was totally undercut by my family.
I don't think I ever got in your way.
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, maybe a couple times.
Yeah. It's pretty much consistent between the 3 of you.
Yeah.
You kept me down.
I think I still would have won even. There couldn't have been that many buildings that needed more than 3 resources.
All of mine did.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
And all of mine needed brick and gems,
See,
and I couldn't get either of them.
I always had all the resources. I just
whether you were cheating or not.
I mean, I never underpaid for them. I
Yeah.
just only took 1 turn to pay for them instead of 2.
Yeah, so while it's only 3 decisions you're making, there are some hard decisions as to what order you're doing this stuff in.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. I think everybody at the table had a good time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Looking forward to trying this one again.
The only thing I didn't enjoy was the end game scoring, because
The
you
end
were
game
literally
scoring-
because you depending on how tall the thing is, you get points, and then it also is how many people have buildings on there, and it's like, okay, so the next people get the amount that the first person got divided by half, but then rounded down, and then like times by 2. And
No, that's because there was ties.
yeah, with the tie, and there was always going to be ties.
Yeah, so there's 6 columns for final scoring, and depending on how many cards are flipped, you get 2 points per each card plus 1 for each decoration.
Yeah.
And the first person gets all of it, second person gets half, and the third person gets half of half.
Yeah.
That was complicating for Shea.
It's very complicating.
Okay, I'm David.
And I'm Shea.
Have a great week.
Hey there, this is Norm from Cardboard Conjecture Podcast and Bridge City Board Gamers here in Saskatoon. And one thing that I always like to do, well, many things, because playing board games is one of them, but I also like talking about board games that other people have been playing. And we're going to go to the What You've Been Playing Wednesday thread on our Facebook community. And let's start off with Jayson. Jayson, we played Lords of Waterdeep, Photosynthesis, Catan, and Calico this week. Playing Catan means I got to break out my laser cut Catan set. It's one of my favorite upgrades. And it's there's a picture here. And if you are so interested, he does some fantastic woodworking. So this would be, if you're a Catan fan, I'd be tapping him on the shoulder for something like this. So fantastic. Those are great games. Moving on, Mike. Total of 16 plays in a week? That's crazy. Good for you, though. Awesome. Trying to finish the 10x10 before the end of the year. Expecting more near and far and too many bones next week. And he's got a little bit of he's got an Excel spreadsheet. No, I'm joking. He played Marvel United X-Men, Wingspan, Makuru card game. I hope I'm saying that properly. And so that's Man, those are fun games. Fun games. Tony played Men at Work, Cascadia, Quacks of Quedlinburg, and Skull. You know, Skull is a card game that has always attracted my attention because a lot of people that I align with in my choices of card games have said so many good things about that game. So once again, I'm going to have to look into that. Lane played Bring Out Your Dead, Zombie Kids, and Parks with Nightfall. Have I ever heard of that one? I mean, yes. I mean, Monty Python, yes. But, okay, I'm going to have to look that one. Parks is a great game. Uses that Takedo, last player moves first kind of methodology. Hans, we're going to pretty much put this one in like written in stone tablet. He played Terraforming Mars. That's consistent. The Whatnot Cabinet. Interesting. I've heard a few things about that one. Viscounts of the West Kingdom, the third in that series of Shem Phillips. Furnace. Man, Furnace is popping up. I hope it's because it's not hyped and because it's got a lot of content in there. Cool. Keyflower. Oh, it's so long since I played that one. That's a good game. Space Base. Lots of dice. Project L. And Porta Nigra. I don't know that one. I've heard it, yes. Scott missed last week's post, so this is a couple of weeks worth. Marvel Champions, a few times, finally beating the third scenario of the Galaxy's Most Wanted campaign. Yay, I've not got to that yet. But he has also played Genotype, Lisboa, and with the Queen's variant. So, man, Lisboa. I played that once. I love Vital games. They're a good brain crunch. Tim played Necromunda. I believe that is in the Warhammer realm. So cool. And Azul, stellar abstract game. Tim played some Terraforming Mars. Moving on. Ooh, Brian played some Robinson Crusoe. I love that game. It is so difficult. Gloomhaven, The Crew, Quacks, and Takedo. That's a great lineup. Eli, Custom Heroes, Dixit, and Red Rising 3 times. Dixit is so much fun. It's probably one of the top, my favorite kind of group games because it's such a straightforward rule set and you get playing right away. And it's laughs. John played Mini Rails, Automobile, Nuclear War, and 7 Wonders. Automobile, some Martin Wallace. Yeah. Curtis played Mini Rails. I wonder if there's a connection there. Surprisingly, a really great game. Finished off Time of Crisis tonight. Nice. Matthew played some Kemet. I love Kemet. And Sagrada. Sudoku with dice. And then if you want that with a theme, then that's Role Player. And not to dismiss any of that, they're all excellent. And so yeah, there you go. There's the community participation of this, and I'm envious of a lot of games that got played there, but also inspired to play some games that I haven't played yet. Kemet, and as we always say, coming down to this point, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much to the content creators for producing such incredible work. And that being said, keep your stick on the ice and take care out there, eh?